think some of my favorite videos are videos that start off being memes, and this one is no exception. This video was definitely inspired by a meme, and this meme came from the chapter in which, because of what Kaido said about Luffy in regards to comparing Luffy to 5 gods, in my opinion, in Rocks, Roger, Whitebeard, Oden, and Shanks, it then led to some other memes. The funniest one, in my opinion, is the Sanji meme, in which they compared Sanji to Gordon Ramsay, Ratatouille, and Salt Bay. I'm really surprised that Strusen wasn't there, but it was hilarious. I'm sorry. It was very, very funny. The Zoro one, though, in which they compared Zoro to Gandhi. That's the old Gorosei with the sword. That's what we call him. That we don't know his name, but that's what we call him. Ryuma, Mihawk, and then there's a funny one that includes Vista as well. I think that's actually pretty good. But then that got me to thinking, so wait, what is Zoro's peak? Now, this is a very contentious topic because a lot of people, they have different variations of where they play Zoro at his absolute peak. So I think you're gonna have 3 different factions. The faction that likes to downplay Zoro because they like Sanji more, and because of the contentious relationship between Zoro fans and Sanji fans, you automatically downplay him because you're like, forget Zoro, I'm doing it just to anger his fans, or rather stans. Then you have the middle ground, where people are going to be a bit more cautious because they understand Zoro is Luffy's right-hand man, but they don't want to overstate him, so they basically tend to lowball Zoro a bit, but it's fair and reasonable based on their standards. Then there's the other faction, who completely overblow Zoro's strength and think Zoro can cut even the moon if you let him. And some people are probably saying, well, they're not wrong. And I'm like, well, maybe they're not, but you know who I'm talking about. And today I'm just gonna give you my opinion. And in my opinion, you should also subscribe to the channel right now if you have not. If you're here for the first time, click that button. If you're returning, you can drop a like because that helps as well. But yeah, let's talk about our favorite Marimo, Zoro. Sometimes I'm scared to talk about Zoro's strength because I know just how much of a shit show is going to be in the comment section, but I can't let a great opportunity pass me by, right? And I think this is the perfect time based on what happened in chapter 1000 and 1001, where, okay, rooftop level is not a thing. It's a meme. People do not take it seriously. It's a funny thing that people are going to use sometimes to scale characters because the characters on the rooftop, they should be a lot more important. So now the characters are being scaled up. I'm definitely not doing that, but I've said this before and I'll say it again. Well, before I say it again, I want to say that Oda is doing a great job of managing the power scaling. I'm not gonna go any deeper than that. In regards to Zoro, this is the thing I was gonna say again, but I was saying that Zoro, if he manages to defeat King just by having Enma, then we have to have a serious conversation about Zoro and how strong he was coming out of the time skip. Now, something that's also important to acknowledge is that Luffy and Zoro, they don't have to grow the same way. But I think sometimes people try to use how Luffy grows, and then they try to throw Zoro into that box saying, well, if Luffy needs 3 Haki blooms versus these characters to grow, then Zoro should need 3 as well. Well, let me ask you guys this. When we think about characters who train and is always focused on becoming an absolute unit, how many characters are you thinking of before Zoro? At least in One Piece, Zoro is reluctantly always training, always trying to find ways to become the best, and chapter 1001 was no exception. Zoro has now taken Kinemon's technique. That left eye is not for show, it is a Sharingan, and that technique is now his. So that goes to show just how much time Zoro puts in, to the point that he can cut a Yonko's attack. This is some of the One Piece thing, show not tell, but based on what we've seen from Zoro, it is not a stretch to think that Zoro trained his ass off to learn this technique, because based on what we've seen, that's the type of person Zoro is. So in a way, I'm disputing some of my own logic in the past. I tried to place everyone on Luffy's growth curve, whereas if Luffy grows this way, X character, they have to grow this way as well. Well, they haven't fought anyone. How could they grow as much as Luffy? Well, I don't think anyone trains as much as Zoro. But then for him, there are caveats. There are exceptions, there are things in place to justify a bloom, or rather a situation. First thing, Zoro has not had an opponent in the New World that we can say was worthy of his sword. Seriously. The only person, and if you want to consider this an opponent, it's fine, that Zoro really had to sweat against was Fujitora. And that was literally a couple of clashes in Dressrosa, if you want to count Stampede. It's not canon, but other than that, there hasn't been anyone. That's a separate issue in regards to Zoro and his quest to become the swordsman or the sword god, but we haven't seen Zoro even use Ashra yet. Ashra was the ultimate technique that Zoro used to overcome strong swordsmen pre-time skip. We haven't seen that at all. Again, that is an issue, but we haven't seen it. Also, Zoro as a swordsman, he's probably the easiest character to level up before Sanji in the raid suit, but then it's a lot that goes into that. But for Zoro, it doesn't take much to make him stronger. For a character like that, you can level him up by giving him swords. Now, I'm not going to get into the conversation about Enma being a power-up or not. At the end of the day, in my opinion, Zoro is stronger with that sword and can use techniques he wasn't capable of while having this sword. I'm not going to go back and forth about it. You can feel how you feel about it. That's how I feel about it. And then there's also some conversation about Zoro and Killer, whether or not they hurt Kaido. I think the scans did make it a bit ambiguous, but I think this is the good thing about reading both the scans and the official, because to be honest, some of the dialogue in the scans last week was better than the official. It made things feel a bit more raw, where the official is so much more polished. And for some people, they like that, and normally the official is always better. But for me, sometimes I just like the raw dialogue, where some of the characters, maybe it's not a full-on curse word, but just a bit more edge. I like that, right? However, in the official this week, Kaido told Zoro and Killer, well done. And for someone that respects strength, that's telling me that they did something significant enough for Kaido to say, well done. So in my opinion, I think it's no question that they actually hurt him, right? They did something to the point that he's like, okay, I see you. That's good. But let's jump past Wano. Let's go to the end of this story. Where does Zoro end up? Now, people are going to draw parallels from the Pirate King, from Mihawk, Ryuma. There's so many things you can pull from. And I think ultimately it's very tough because Zoro's going after Mihawk. And this goes back to what I said initially. Your starting point is going to be very important for the end game. Because for some people, they view Mihawk as a top 3, top 4 strongest character right now. For some people, Mihawk is top 10. So if you view it that way and you have Mihawk top 3, then you think Zoro's absolute peak will be top 3 because he'll be the world's greatest while having to fight other strong opponents at the end. So he'll be slightly stronger than Mihawk, and the only person you could probably put above him at the end of it all is Luffy. Some people might even say they're equal, but not everyone. Personally, I think Zoro is guaranteed top 5 at the end of the series. I think being the world's greatest swordsman, while also being the right hand of the Pirate King, it puts you in a stratosphere in which you have to respect characters like Rayleigh, Ryuma, and of course Mihawk. I don't think Rayleigh is top 5 all time, right? But I think Zoro will surpass Rayleigh, and I think Zoro obviously will surpass Mihawk. So I scale him up a bit. So at the end of the story, not including the legends of the past, like Garp and Whitebeard and Rox and Sing. No, the people that will be alive in the story, I think Zoro will be top 5. I'm not going to tell you who's in my top 5, because that may be another area of contention. However, in my opinion, Zoro's peak in the One Piece story, at the end of it all, is top 5. Now, something I always do, and again, this has nothing to do with Zoro's peak, this is a tangent, ladies and gentlemen, is Zoro versus Law. In 2019, I said Law was stronger than Zoro. In 2020, I said Zoro is stronger than Law. I go back and forth because of Law's incredible ceiling, but Zoro has an amazing ceiling as well. But I think the matchup there could be pretty difficult for both of them, Zoro being such a dominant force and Law being a calculated individual. But do you see Law being stronger than Zoro at the end of the series? What about stronger than Kid? What about Kobe? What about Akainu? What about Sabo? These are things to think about, but for me, personally, I'm confident in putting Zoro top 5, top 6, top 7, but for me, top 5 for sure at the end of the series. I think that is Zoro's absolute peak, whereas again, from top 1 to top 10 is a close matchup. And it could go either way based on the matchup, the circumstances, etc. But for me, that boy Zoro, absolute peak, top 5. But guys, give me your thoughts. Where do you think Zoro is at the end of the series? Where do you scale him to? How much do you pull from Rayleigh? How much do you pull from Ryuma? How much do you pull from Mihawk? Give me your thoughts. Make sure to like the video if you did. Subscribe to the channel for more content like this. Follow me on Twitter at BragoDAce. Follow me on Instagram at BragoD.Ace. Thanks to my patrons. I appreciate you guys so much. Guys, make sure to like and subscribe. I'll catch you in the next one. Peace.
I start doubting me, I felt lost. I rewrite it.